Kyle does some really awesome stuff with collaboration and partnerships to help build brands and generate sales leads. And then I know he also helps on the sales side too. So, Kyle, give us a little quick nutshell on what you do and who you help.
Yeah, I help expert speakers, course creators, consultants, and I help them scale to seven figures using 100% commission only salespeople without spending a dime on ads. And the way that I do it is very unique. Some people, when they think about salespeople, they're like, oh, cold DMs. We do not do cold DMs. I stand against cold DMs. I hate them. They're spammy. They're not value driven. We are more about hot DMs and warm DMs. How do I build a sales team that's commission only? I'm not paying them hourly, but they have as many leads as they could possibly want, and they're warmed leads and nurtured leads. The only way to do that is leveraging other influencers and
Mhm.
leveraging other audience owners. So in my system, my appointment setters are more like joint venture managers than they are setters. And it's their job to go line up my collaboration calendar so we can get as many warm leads transferred over as we want.
That's super cool. That's super cool. So, like, what does that process look like if somebody's working with you? Like, if they've never heard of something like this, they know, they see all this, the ads and stuff for like, don't pay, only pay for results, blah, blah, blah. And at this point, that's so saturated, right? Like, I don't even pay, you can't even pay attention to that stuff because everybody's made that promise and failed. So, like, what does it
Yeah.
look like working with you guys? Because you have that great, unique mechanism of the collaboration part of things.
Yeah, so the best way to explain it is kind of the story, and I'll do the abridged version. And throughout this story, I'm also going to give you guys some implementation steps. So it's not just a story, it's things that you guys can take action on. So
Cool.
I've been in direct sales and marketing for 14 years now. A lot of that was the school of hard knocks,
Yeah.
knocking on doors, literally. Like that's how I got my start, and that's how I got really good at sales and building relationships. Because when I first started knocking on doors, I'd have doors slammed in my face. I had a couple guns pulled on me. I had people talking to me through a wall. And so it was like, man, how do I do this? This is crazy. Like I can't make a sale. This might not even be safe. Like, what am I doing here? But then, but then I learned something. I learned how to make a friend and how to control energy and learn how to make people feel comfortable. Once I nailed that, I was able to create these micro relationships to where I could connect with somebody on a pretty deep level in a short amount of time. And once I learned that skill, I was having people inviting me in, cooking me elaborate meals, paying me $100 tip just for speaking to them. And then I rose through the ranks with DirecTV. That's who I worked with, was DirecTV. Rose through the ranks. I became number 7 top salesperson in the nation for them. And I started to build door-to-door sales teams for them. I won a plaque, won a cruise, all this cool stuff. Long story short, couldn't do that forever. Learned about Russell Brunson, the ClickFunnels and online expert space, fell in love with that space. I burned the ships and transitioned completely over. Now, when I transitioned over, I made mistakes that I want you guys to learn about.
Yeah.
These mistakes were treating Facebook like door-to-door, reaching out to one person at a time. Of course, I knew how to make a friend and give value, so I'm not sitting there spamming people, but it's slow, just reaching out to one person at a time. But I was able to make a little bit of money fairly quickly. So my wife and I were like, okay, let's go travel the world. We've always wanted to travel the world. As long as we have an internet connection, we can make money from anywhere. So we sold everything we owned, fit the rest of what we owned into suitcases, and flew across the world to Europe. We lived in Italy, we were in Prague, we were in Croatia, we were in France, just all over doing this cool travel lifestyle and having this awesome social media and photos going out for it, but it wasn't authentic because we were just sharing the good side, right? We didn't share the struggle that came with that. And if somebody could look behind the curtain, they would see my wife and I grinding. Like we had to work hard for our money. You know, she was doing 8, 9 hours, 8, 9 hard hours,
Mhm.
cold DMing people. I was doing 13, 14 hours customer service, fulfillment, closer, wearing all these different hats. And our daughter Eve, who was 4 at the time, would be on her tablet for hours and hours on
Uh,
end, missing her parents, not having any human connection. And we hated to see that it was not the life that we wanted to design. We wanted something better. We dreamt of something better. This was not it. So I had a light bulb moment go off. I was like, you know what? I used to build commission only teams. I don't have money to pay people hourly, but I don't have to. They're commission only. Since I have experience doing that, why don't I just do that here for this space? And that's what I did. I went and found some rock star setters to use their own Facebook accounts to go reach out to people for me. It's like a Band-Aid, right? So I
Yeah.
removed my wife from that position so she didn't have to do it anymore. And we were still getting sales, but again, it wasn't anything to brag about. It's slow and it was a grind. And because it was a grind, I was losing good salespeople left and right. I couldn't retain anybody.
Yeah.
So I was like, how do I solve that problem? How do I make it to where I have setters that are making like 6 figures with me and making a career? I want to
Yeah.
do that for them. So I heard Russell Brunson talking about this Dream 100 strategy. And for those of you that don't know, Russell Brunson talks about this strategy to where if you write down 100 names of influencers and audience owners that are huge, if just one of them said yes, it would change your life and your business forever. I didn't have time to implement that, so I just gave each one of my setters their own Dream 100. So they, instead of cold DMing, now they're reaching out to influencers and audience owners, the highest level people, the tip of the spears. And I didn't know if it'd work. I just threw it out there. I'm like, all right, let's just see what happens. And one day, one of them texts me and says, I got Joe McCall to agree to come on to an interview. And I knew the name at the time, a 7-figure, 2 Comic Club award winner, huge podcast. So I was like, wait a minute. I took a double take. I'm like, this can't be the actual Joe McCall. This is probably somebody else. And I looked, no, it was the guy. It was the Joe McCall. So I was just stoked. And here's the implementation step, guys. The way my setter got this guy who's way higher level than me, I have no audience back then. The way they got him to say yes was this. Hey, Joe McCall, love your stuff. Love everything that you're putting out there. We don't have an audience yet, but we have a network. We have people that we're connected to. We have high-level peeps that we know. We'd love to have you on and do an interview, and we'll send that out to the people we know. Would you be down for that? And he said, yes. A lot of people will say yes to that, guys, even if you don't have an audience. You don't have to have a huge audience. You know a couple good people, you have a network, you can do this. Have them on, send it out to people. They can get really what they're looking for is referrals. And if you know people that you could potentially refer, then you have a lot of power to work from there. And you can get people to say yes to coming on and doing some kind of cross promotion with you. But because he said yes to coming on to my interview, he offered to interview me back. I didn't even have to ask him. He just offered. I was like, yeah, sure. Law of reciprocation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went on. I was on his YouTube channel. He posted it on his podcast too. Long story short, from that one interview, we did $75,000 in revenue.
Nice. Dude, that's the
Everything
power
changed after
of
that.
number one, that's the power of like relationships and audience. And then it's also the power of like how to open relationships, right? Like too many people, you know, my whole thing is like relational over transactional, right? And you have that same thing where it's leading with value first. And it's not knocking on Joe's door and saying, hey, can you refer me people? Or hey, can I sell you something? But it's rather like, I want to shine the spotlight on your expertise. Can you
That's
come
it.
on and let me ask you something? And that's how you open the conversation that creates a relationship and then creates opportunities. I love that approach.
Yes, exactly. And the best way to do it is to give without expectation. They
Mm-hmm.
might not promote you back, but who cares? It's about
Right.
relationships. And if you give without expectation, the universe just gives back.
I totally agree, man. I say if you knock on 100 doors, the universe knocks on 1,000 for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So you
that's
guys might wonder
awesome.
where to find them, where to find
Yeah.
these influencers. High ticket closer groups is where you find the salespeople. High ticket closer groups, appointment setter groups, you can find the salespeople there. They'll go reach out to the influencers for you.
Mm-hmm.
They find the influencers in Facebook groups, school communities. You know, if you find somebody's profile who's an influencer who's connected to a lot of high level people, then they're just reaching out and making friends and
Yeah.
networking. So it's all about networking, not lead generation. If they're doing it from that standpoint, relationship driven, they'll get a lot of attention and a lot of high level connections, which they can just filter to you and send them your way for the collab.
Yeah. So then since this is commission only, are they making commission on the people? Like where does the commission pay come in for the salespeople who are getting the interview, you know, collaboration things? Because there's no money exchange in that particular
Yeah, that's a great
experience,
question.
right?
Great question. So when I do an interview with somebody and they post it on their profile, I
Mm-hmm.
might get 15 comments. I
Yep.
might get 30. I might get 50. Right? Those are all leads to me.
Yep.
I don't have time to reach out and build a relationship with every single
Love
person that
that.
commented or liked the post, but my
Yeah.
setter does.
So
And
the
that's how he
setter
gets all of his
gets,
leads.
so it's like they find the opportunity to create the content and then they do the follow up on the on the calls to action from the content and stuff like that.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
influencer posted on their personal profile,
Yeah.
get engagement from people that know, like, and trust them. Some of these people have followed them for years and they've
Yeah.
built a relationship with them. And all of that gets transferred. All that authority and credibility gets transferred in an instant. So these
Yeah.
are hot leads that my setters get to
Yeah.
work.
Dude, I love this approach. I love the outreach for content. You know, I'm a content guy, and so this is something that I've talked about strategically, but it's not something I've honed in on tactically or created systems around like you have. And the fact that you have is awesome. I'm totally
Thanks, man.
behind this strategy, 100%. So, where can people learn more about you if they want to? You know, you got any cool stuff to give them, or if they want to work with you directly on this awesome game plan?
Yeah, I have a gift. I have a gift for you guys. So it's a
I love it.
collaboration script. Yeah, if you
Cool.
guys want to know what to say when you reach out to people, you want a framework to follow because you're like, okay, here's an influencer. How do I get them to say yes to promoting me or doing a cross promotion? It's the collaboration script. I'm going to give it to you guys for free. Can we have them comment below and I can
Yeah,
personally give it to them?
absolutely. Comment below. Yeah, for sure. And we're going to put
Awesome.
this everywhere. So on socials, comment below. And if you're seeing this on YouTube or on the website, like we'll drop a link here to get to it.
Yeah, yeah. And that link is scalesalesteams.com. You can see it behind me on the virtual
Awesome.
background. Scalesalesteams.com. The only thing you'll find there is that script. That website is dedicated to that
Cool.
script. So you can go there and find it too.
Awesome. And we'll link over to Kyle's profile. So if anybody wants to reach out to him, I mean, you know exactly what's going to happen, right? Tell them that you found this good stuff and you're interested, and then they're going to talk to you about how you could do it for yourself. So thank you, Kyle, so much for jumping on and dropping these nuggets. I love the approach. I love the strategy and the relationship building, opening the conversations like that, creating, and then not to mention like what we can do with all the content that you're creating, right? Like not just the relationship there and then the referrals from that, but then the actual videos that are recorded can turn into so many more things, which, you know, I'll get on my soapbox for too long, but I love it all around. It's a great leverageable game plan you got there.